Yeah, Gibson, man. I just wanna. I have a lot of things that I'm wondering about when it comes to Gibson, right? I just don't know. Gibson is a. We love Gibson because of the guitar heroes over the years, over the decades, probably. Maybe not quite century yet, but for a long time. They have established tradition. They've got a big name. But I've always wondered, man, did they have any, did you, there's a lot of, I'll just go straight into it, right? But I heard that the owner of Gibson, I think it's Orville Gibson, if I'm not mistaken, he's not a, is he a guitar player or not? I must have heard somewhere that he's not. And so that's probably why he's not that obsessed with, or not too interested with really improving the guitar, moving it forward. Kind of like how Paul Reed Smith does, improving everything. So when we look at it from the guitar head to toe, this is just a Les Paul style guitar, but I love this one. This is the, you can see the T on the headstock there. That's the Tanglewood TSB 58. And a UK based company, but this guitar is made in Taiwan. So you look at the headstock, right? Gibson headstocks are very wide. They do look nice, but I think I wouldn't say they should do things. And I'm just wondering, why are Gibson gonna make, let's say, a contemporary type of line, the contemporary, a more practical type of line. I know, I do. Excuse me. I do know that they have this modern line of guitars where they keep a lot of the structure traditional, but they change the, like the pickups, for example, and the hardware, the look of the hardware to make it modern. I think they were using EMG pickups or some kind of high output or whatever it is, to so that it departs from the traditional thing. But there's a lot of flaws that I observe in Gibson. I mean, surely Gibson is smart enough that they can see how many headstock breakages they had over the decades, right? Guitars just going, just, simply falling over, however which way, and then boom, it cracks on the headstock, and then it just, the owners are devastated because they paid that much money, and then all it takes is just a simple, it's not even rocking out on the stage and doing some really aggressive movements and then hitting the headstock on a wall or a building post and then break the headstock. Fair enough, because that's the kind of situation you'd expect that to happen, or I would think, and I would think so anyway. But so when I'm thinking about the headstock, right? I think when you look at PRS, their headstock, the shape of it is where these two are a little bit closer together than these two. This one's gonna closer together, and then this one's closer together again. What happens is the string travels more in a straight line, and it doesn't. This one it still has a bit of a bend, but not as much as a Gibson, where because it actually, this one goes further than this, further out, and then this one further out again. So it's probably the most extreme that I've seen. And this one, it shrinks it a little bit, so it's a little bit closer. I think you can see it. Let me help the focus along. It's a little bit better than the Gibson, and I also like the shape up here. It's similar to the Gibson, but it's not quite that open book thing. I don't mind this at all. I like this. But I think if there was if I could custom shop something, too bad right now I'm just a simple poor guy So this is what I can get for now. But if I was gonna be able to get a custom shop thing going, it'll it'll this will be a more straight travel. The strings, kind of like what PRS is doing. In fact, the thing that PRS is doing with the Santana signature, the headstock, is that one is really nice. That's probably close to perfect, I would say, in to me. And also with Gibson noticing all the, I'm sure they're noticing the headstock breakages. They would have addressed the break angle thing on the headstock, right? This one's not too angled, probably. I don't know, compared to Gibson. I've always admired Gibsons because of how they look from the front. From the front, when players are playing good guitar and they're playing on a Gibson, like some really sweet melodies and licks and solos and chops. Looks really good from the front, but when I snap out of it, I think about it a bit more logically. I think about the flaws, unfortunately. So with Gibson, they have they could at least put one of these volutes, because to me it seems like this will strengthen the neck joint. I don't know. Do you agree? What do you think? Because they're not doing the whole scarf joint thing where this one has a scarf joint. I think this one has a scarf joint. I'm pretty sure it does. Yeah, yeah, it yeah, it does. I can see the change in the grain. Or can I? Yeah, I think I can see a difference in the grain. I'm not even sure anymore. Oh no, yep, I can see it. I can see it. So yeah, scarf joint. I'm completely fine with that. So when you see guitars with a scarf joint, and then they have this the volute as well, and then you're thinking, and then somehow, as coincidence, that type of guitar with those two characteristics break a headstock and they break it here where the scarf joint is, and then people will be thinking, oh, that's why scarf joints are bad. Or the reason why it didn't break over here is probably because it's strong, and then now the impact is going to impact the next weaker point, which would be, it could be above the volute. Can you see that? Above the volute, or above or below. So probably either up here is the next weak point, or somewhere down here. So logically it kind of makes sense, and I'm not sure how much it'll take to break at the scarf joint though, because surely it's going to be reinforced by, the strength of it's going to be reinforced by the fingerboard and the truss rod. So it makes me wonder though, where does the impact hit for it to break at the scarf joint? Probably somewhere here, because if it was somewhere up top, it would probably break somewhere on top of the volute, somewhere here, right? That's logically, that's how I'm seeing it. And the frets on the Gibson, I wish they had this contemporary line, or I wish they would make that contemporary line to compete with, so that they can take a share of the market of the kind of players that want these sort of things, like heavier stuff. Because I'm sure we have some metal guitars, some hardcore guitars, and all those, the heavy stuff. They really admire Gibsons, but they just cannot handle some things about the Gibson, unlike the frets. So I'm wondering if Gibson is going to do this contemporary line with improvements on the structure of the guitar, and also the features, like stainless frets, or do like a what do you call it, modern, like a modern vintage, or a hybrid of what people like from the vintage line or from the old stuff, and some of the new stuff, like maybe even the nitro finish or the burst, the T burst, because the T burst is a beautiful finish too, with a flame maple top. Gorgeous, man. And big stainless frets, like probably even similar to 650. Take the 65. I would say maybe ESP or Jackson, or the ones that are the frets are tall enough. On a side note though, the only Gibson that I really like at the moment is the BFG, because I just really like how rough they look, and I've played one before briefly, and the frets were nice. They were skinny, but they were tall. I really liked the resonation of the body and the tone from the pickups. The guitar sounded, the attack was really fat. And so that's the tangent there. We're gonna go back from the tangent and go back to the guitar. Here's another thing about Gibson as well that I don't get, by the way. This guitar is US dollars. I would say this was 400, like 350, 400. And this was 10 years ago. This guitar, I actually got this at least 10 years ago. So this is a pretty old guitar now that when I think about it. And at the time, yeah, $350, $400. This is I bought this. This is in Sydney, Australia, right? I got it for 600 or something, 600 Australian dollars. So it's about 350, 400 US. For a $400 US guitar, 350, whatever. The inlays on these are mother of pearl. And I'm pretty sure it's mother of pearl because it looks like it has that shine to it. Correct? I can see from up close it's got that nice genuine shine to it. Like even a bit transparent looking. Can I get it closer? There are some fret markers, especially what I'm talking about is with the Gibson standards. When I went to the music shop, because I haven't been in the music shop for a long time, because I just, they're quite far from me. But when I went there and checked out the Gibsons, the standards, I was thinking, man, how come these Gibsons, you're gonna be paying a lot of money for these Gibson Les Paul standards, and then they're gonna give you some acrylic inlays? Come on, man. Look at this. Look at this. This is for sure mother of pearl. You can see the movement of the light. So who knows how well you can see that? If you really know the difference between acrylic and mother of pearl, the way they do acrylic is they swirl it so that and make it look cloudy, so that it sort of imitates the look of mother of pearl. And I'm pretty sure this is mother of pearl, right? But for a guitar like that, Gibson Les Paul standard to have acrylic, it's a bit of a joke, because and you're paying a lot more money now probably compared to back then when they didn't use acrylic. And but inflation, bro. Oh, okay, granted, inflation. So they probably raised their prices due to inflation, but they should have kept the good stuff in it. They're not just put the prices up high to match inflation and then cheapen on some parts. Like, what the hell? Kudos. We gotta respect the hustle from Gibson. That's one way to take more money from people, right? Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. But I think when you at least when you're on a standard Gibson standard, Les Paul standard, at least give them mother of pearl. If you're using if it's a Gibson Studio or one of those ones that are a bit cut down, yeah, perhaps you can give them the acrylic ones, or I would even say probably plastic, but at least acrylic, because at least the acrylic has the look of mother of pearl. But come on, man, people, there's you're I understand that Gibson's riding on their brand because they can, and people still love Gibson because of their association with their favorite guitarists and all this. Because people are like that. That's I understand that psychology, man. So that's the inlays part of it that I'm just flabbergasted about. And another thing is the body of the Les Pauls. I think the body. What is it? What is it on the Les Paul? Is it like a 5 centimeter of thickness, or 4.5, something like that? It's pretty thick, and I don't know if a good Les Paul needs to be that thick, because I've talked about this in one of my videos about how much tone wood matters. And I love this guitar because the body may be thick on this, but it's not as thick as a typical Les Paul, and I think this is perfect. The ESP Eclipse that I had, the 4-knob Lawsuit Eclipse, was thinner than this on the sides anyway, because it's a carved top, and then it's going to be thick right around the middle because of it's the highest point of the carve. I understand that. But overall, the weight is reduced because of the thinner body. But I don't know if, what's the benefit of, what really is the benefit of a full thickness body where it matters? Because with that ESP that I had, it was pretty thin and light, but it was very resonant, a very lively playing guitar. Even this one, probably I would argue, is fairly lively. This is strung with Elixir. I think it's the OptiWeb ones, or the NanoWeb. I don't remember, because I think it's probably the OptiWeb, which is my favorite string at the moment. Not for recording in the studio, but for everything else, for just practicing at home, band practice, because of just how long they last, and how you could say resistant, how vastly, greatly resistant they are to my acidic sweat, because my sweat just corrodes the string, and then especially with the plain strings, they get all dark and rough and disgusting to play. But this is a pretty lively guitar. But my point is, does the body need to be, let me see, Les Paul thickness. What is the, and it's giving me like an imperial, what's that, 1.5 inch deep. No, the body is 2 inches. So from here, I think they won't give me a, in metric system, metric, come on, man. So the body thickness, well, for say, since the base of the binding is about 1 millimeter below the joint, that gives you a total body thickness of around 57 mil or 2.244 inches. So I was thinking, five centimeters, but it's 5 point, was that 57 mil is 5.7 5.7 centimeters. I thought it was 5. It's even more. Maybe 5.7 is in the middle or somewhere, but it's, you know what I mean? It's thick, and what is the point of it? It's just weight. Why do people, so I'm guessing people just think that a heavier guitar has more tone. What do they mean? What do you think they mean? Do they mean more sustain? They mean, what exactly do they mean? Hey? Do you know? Do you really know? If you're gonna think for yourself, I'm sure there's probably a good reason out there, but if it's this hard to think about, for me anyway, it's probably only hard for me to think about because I have experienced guitars with thinner bodies, and it's pretty good. Like PRS, so for example, they've got pretty thin bodies overall, less mass, and they're very lively. Even this one, what is this? This is probably 1.5 inch at the side, something like that. And the guitar weighs, I think this one weighs 4 kilos. 4 kilos, maybe less, or I think I weighed it before. I must have gotten somewhere like 4 kilos, which is reasonable. So I'm wondering if Gibson, in their hypothetical fantasy, in my fantasy land, if they were gonna do their contemporary line, would they make something like that, accommodate that, like a modern contemporary classic, and then still have the four knobs, still have the classic shape, and the good old nitro finishes, and the burst colors, the T burst especially, or the greeny finish, or the appetite for destruction finish, and all that good stuff, right? The ones that we're familiar with, the black beauty tuxedo Les Paul custom style, but with the thinner body, with the taller stainless frets, and a headstock volute, a volute behind the nut, lesser break angle on the neck, or on the headstock. Maybe even if they update the headstock a little bit, let's be realistic, man. They're probably not gonna make those changes because they're you could say maybe people love them how they are with their flaws. But if they were to do this contemporary line, would they capture even more people? I understand they might be concerned about their fans turning against them for selling excuse me, selling out, for appeasing to the modern crowd for the specs that I have mentioned. But they're a big company. I mean, they hold their own against those kind of people. You know, they're just snowflakes, man. But if they did that sort of thing, maybe they would capture more of a market share from the heavier genre, of the heavier crowd. But who knows? I admire Gibson from afar, from a distance, from the front. But maybe someday I'll have a Gibson. Maybe someday, what? Could be a BFG or a really nice one with a really good looking one where the guitar just has the mojo and I wouldn't be able to help but, wouldn't be able to pass it up because it's such a good deal and whatnot. And that's probably the only thing. Yeah, I wonder if Gibson has considered that. I wonder if Gibson is going to consider that, doing something like that, creating a line like that. I don't know. What do you think? This is just me wondering, just as a simple guy. I'm just a guy. You're the expert, aren't you? Subscribe for more videos and click that like button or that dislike button or wherever you like. And thank you for watching.